Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading, and today is October 25th, 2024, and today is Friday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, Tesla, huge surge with a gap up and go of over 21%. But first, looking at today's major economic events. So we start out the day at 2:30 South African time. Out of Canada, we have monthly retail sales numbers. Now looking at the Forex symbols, we are bouncing off of that lower supportish level and the Canadian dollar on a multi-year resistance-ish level. And lastly, the Japanese yen at a 50% retracement from its bounce from that high to low. Now looking at the indices, the Dow Jones continues to sell lower as the NASDAQ remains unchanged. Looking at commodities, natural gas had a huge surge in one day of trading of over 10%. Now looking at the stocks, Netflix just off of its highs selling off. And lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin unchanged on its upper resistance-ish level. Now let's take a quick look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go. First with the Euro-USD. Now we're getting a bounce off of this 107.89-ish level to 108.36. Not a big bounce, but decent enough for us to highlight it. Number one, it's been a previous supportish level. So yes, the euro is a very choppy market and it's trading in a range. It doesn't really trade as a trend follower, but it might have a good move as this bounce off of this level. Now looking at the USD Canadian dollar. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. We're at this 138.40-ish level, and we've hit it before. Once, twice, 3, 4 times. This is really super important because this is a potential retracement level for it. So you want to be in it to win it, and you can make even some good money off of it. So just be aware of it. Keep an eye on it. If it does retrace, it might be a good follow-up. Now looking at that Japanese yen, we got a 50% bounce, and this is usually when it's turned southward, so keep that in mind as we're looking here on a weekly chart. You can see we're right there at the 30-day mark, so that's super important as we've surged from that low of 140 up to 152, and we're basically 50% right off of that 160-ish level, so keep that in mind. Now looking at natural gas, look at that big surge. We got a gap and go. We haven't turned around to 299. That's a big move for natural gas. Remember, we do have resistance at 313-ish level. That's a potential area for us to hit a little bit of a little bit of wind or crosswind in terms of turbulence on the downside. Now looking at crude oil, not doing much. It's $70 a barrel, and oil pretty much just tapering off this week, not doing much either. Now let's take a look at this amazing markets in the US, because it's really crazy. We're going to just first look at Tesla before we do the indices. Look at that massive surge from 217 up to 260. We're back on that resistance level, and if we could break it above, that would really be a colossal move, right? Because we haven't been above this area for quite some time, and this is a multi-time frame resistance-ish area, okay, all the way up to 300-ish level. So are we there yet? No, but, okay, we could potentially be there, okay, if it does continue to close in this gap. Now, looking at the U.S. market, starting out with the Dow Jones, another sell-off. Now, we're at that 30-day moving average, okay, where we potentially could bounce off of, okay, so that's something to look at today, and the NASDAQ remaining mostly unchanged. So it's really focusing on Tesla right now, as the major components haven't really changed that much. However, let's take a look at JP Morgan. It's on its highs, okay, 224, as we're closing into the elections, only about 2 weeks away, less than 2 weeks away. So keep that in mind, almost just 10 days away, right? So a lot of excitement there. Now, let's take a look at NVIDIA, as that has really done some amazing stuff this past week as we hit all-time record highs in NVIDIA. However, we did retrace from those highs to 136, and we're about just mid-size away from that. That could be a potential element there as we continue making new highs if that continues on the upside. Now, lastly, looking at Bitcoin, it's right there at that resistance level. It's a very choppy market for it right now. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Until we break out, it's going to converge and really just consolidate in this area until it's going to choose which direction it wants to go. This is Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day and a great weekend. Thank you.